All right, guys, we're back here for the second video of the week. This is the Tuesday video, and if you watch it early, then you may be watching it on a Sunday or a Monday, but it's designed to be the Tuesday video, your second section of reading, to cover pages 45 through 54 of the book, The Five People You Meet in Heaven. So we start with another Today is Eddie's Birthday section, and this one actually is a little chronologically out of order from what we're seeing because this is actually before Eddie goes off to war. But it really is to set up him and Marguerite's relationship. We want to see how this is one of those like movie love affair type things. These two are the real deal. They really care about each other. It's a beautiful little scene. Again, it's some of Mitch Albom's great descriptive writing. So by all means, check it out, read it closely. It's so neat. It's juxtaposed right against this really bitter, rough, violent-looking imagery from the war, and then you go into this beautiful like date they're having on the pier on Eddie's birthday, and it's a really pretty thing. It lets you see the range that our author truly has. Okay, we also get this image of Marguerite telling Eddie that she's going to wait for him, which is a really tender moment where she really does love him and he loves her because we already know how he felt. That's all he was thinking about when he was a prisoner. So we kind of get the other side of that here, and we get to see how this is designed. With this book, the danger that Albom had as he wrote it is a short book. And the way it's designed, building that exposition, that background is difficult. He uses these sections, the This is Eddie's Birthday sections, to give you that exposition. We talked at the very beginning of the year about a plot map and how, typically you draw as that exposition's that first little flat part, and then it goes rising action, climax, and so on. And a lot of times people would see the exposition as the early parts of a novel, and that was it. And what happens with modern novels, and especially this one, is the exposition is sprinkled so much more throughout the story, because exposition for most people is the boring part, and you don't want to Albom could have sat down and wrote out this whole like history of Eddie to begin, but it would have been like 20 or 30 pages and probably would have ended up losing him many readers who just didn't want to stick through it. By doing this, he's allowed to insert these things when they're most needed too. Because of our like terrible attention spans in our world today, he's able to, we really want to stress how much this guy loves Marguerite. So we see it in the war scene, but then we have this section which reinforces it. I mean, it's brilliant. It's such a good writing style, all right? Okay, but after that section, we drop back into where we left off with the soldiers about to blow up this mine and this supply dump. They're about to destroy it. The very first paragraph we see after that, this is Eddie's birthday section, says a freed soldier is often furious. The days and nights he lost, the torture and humiliation he suffered, it all demands a fierce revenge, a balancing of the accounts. So I told you that was kind of the deal here, is that these men they're making a bad choice, to be honest with you. They should have just escaped. Really, it would have been nicer if the Allies were able to capture this and use these supplies. But these guys are like, they're angry about what's happened to them and their friend, and they're going to pay them back. All right. And the funny thing is that the other soldiers aren't there, so they're not hurting these people really. It's just a way to get that rage out. This is a bad thing about human nature, is when we get enraged, we just lash out thinking we can release it, and usually it doesn't work. Sadly, I tell this story, and it's you'd like to believe it's not true, but it is. And all of you know someone who's done this. It's like when you get angry about something, it's typically guys that do this, but I wouldn't say it's exclusive. You get angry and you lash out and you punch a wall or something like that, and what you end up doing is breaking your hand or doing damage to yourself or damaging that property, now having to pay for that, and at the end you're still angry. It doesn't release it. So what's going on here is probably a bad thing for these guys to do. So anyway, they decide they're going to burn everything, and they all seem really excited about it until something happens. And this is a defining moment in Eddie's life. We've seen him already reference this back at the beginning. He thinks about this moment. As the building's burning, he thinks he sees something. He thinks he sees a person moving. In fact, he thinks it might have been a kid. And so he immediately reacts. This lets us know that Eddie's not this hardened, just angry man. There's still a good person inside of him. So he rushes into this fire to try to find this person and try to save them, which is crazy. It's the enemy. I'm putting that in quotation marks because I could get on a whole tangent about our definitions of who our enemies are and how flawed they truly are. But Eddie realizes this is a person. It's not, you don't see it as an enemy, and it's a child, he thinks. So, and there's that level of innocence, and he's like, I'm going to save them. So he rushes into this where it's not just a fire, there's about to be an explosion. Um, he rushes in there crazily. And at that point, this is where the issue with his knee shows up. It says, and I'm on page 49, it says, a piercing pain ripped through Eddie's leg. He screamed a long, hard curse, then crumbled to the ground. Blood was spewing below his knee. Plane engines roared. The skies lit in bluish flashes. Now, if you've already read the section, you know what actually happened. If you didn't, I'm a little disappointed you're watching the video first, but that's okay. But you have to deal with spoilers. When you read this the first time, you probably immediately thought, okay, one of the enemies, the Japanese people are there, and they saw him and they just shot him. And that's what, to be honest with you, Eddie thought too. That is not what happened if you kept reading. All right, it says the captain, we're still on 49, the bottom here. It says the captain nodded slowly as he recalled those last moments. You remember anything about how you got out of there, he asked. Not really, Eddie said. It took 2 days. You were in and out of consciousness. You lost a lot of blood. We made it through, Eddie said. Yeah, the captain drew the word out and punctuated with a sigh. That bullet got you pretty good. Now, if you've read ahead, you know why he did that. When Eddie said we made it through, Eddie doesn't realize that they all didn't. Like you said, he was in and out of consciousness, lost a lot of blood, and even after they got back, Eddie just kind of faded in and out and didn't really know what happened. Continuing on, the captain kind of changes the subject. Okay, we get this little description of Eddie talking about the leg. This pain in Eddie's leg, we've heard about it multiple times. It's kind of been a defining thing for him. It's part of why he says he goes back and works on the pier, because a lot of things he wanted to do, he couldn't because he's not as ambulatory. That shot to the knee really did damage to him. And remember, we're looking at the 1940s here. If I'm guessing this correctly, we're looking at the 1940s here. Medicine wasn't quite what it is today. So at this point, he was, not able to do a lot. So he kind of just fell into this pattern, the same pattern his father had. All right. The captain at this point goes into a little bit of detail about his past. He gives him a bunch of details about how he's from a family of military men, and also how he's always believed in the idea that you never leave anyone behind, that no one gets left behind. And that's to set up one of the twists in the story. It says, for me, this is the captain. He says, for me, that little idea was what I told you guys every day. No one gets left behind. Eddie nodded. That meant a lot, he said. The captain looked straight at him. I hope so, he said. He reached inside his breast pocket, took out another cigarette, and lit it up. Why do you say that? Eddie asked. Excuse me. The captain blew smoke, then motioned with the end of the cigarette towards Eddie's leg. Because I was the one, he said, who shot you. Now, like I said, a little bit of a twist there. That shot he thought came from a soldier was actually the captain shooting him. Why would he do such a thing? Well, Eddie thinks that very same thing, which is why he ends up trying to fight his captain at this point. Not in the war when it happened. This is like the part where they're in heaven or on their way to heaven, and Eddie goes after the captain. He's so upset. And he talks about how this impacted him, how, this changed my whole life. He says, this is Eddie. Eddie felt a final surge of rage and grabbed the captain by the collar. He pulled him close. He saw the teeth stained yellow by tobacco. My leg, Eddie seethed. My life. I took your leg, the captain said, to save your life. Um, so what happens here is that the captain shot him because he was trying to save Eddie. He wasn't going to leave his guy behind. So he shot him in the knee knowing it wouldn't kill him, or at least he hoped it wouldn't. And he's able to catch him and drag him out because he says Eddie had gone crazy looking for someone. Um, and Eddie says there was nobody in that hut. What was I thinking? If only I didn't go in there. His voice dropped to a whisper. Why didn't I just die? No one gets left behind, remember, the captain said. What happened to you? I've seen it happen before. A soldier reaches a certain point, and then he can't go anymore. Sometimes it's in the middle of the night. A man will just roll out of his tent and start walking barefoot, half naked, like he's going home, like he lives just around the corner. Sometimes it's in the middle of a fight. A man will drop his gun and his eyes go blank. He's just done, can't fight anymore. Usually he gets shot. In your case, it just so happened you snapped in front of a fire about a minute before we were done with this place. I couldn't let you burn alive. I figured a leg wound would heal. We pulled you out of there, and the others got you to a medical unit. Now, notice the wording there. He said the others got you there. At this point, the captain asks Eddie a really important question. He says, did you ever see me again? And Eddie thinks about it, and he realizes that after that moment, he never saw the captain again. And the captain also says, it's like I told you, tetanus, yellow fever, all those shots, just a big waste of my time. Now, again, if you're a good reader, you realize been given enough hints to realize the captain didn't make it back. Uh, he's given us these details, and Mitch Albom's written this in a way that really savvy readers had caught that before this happened. But if you're not, you slowly get led along without just directly saying it. But you finally get to it, and some of you still may have missed it at this point. He's about to tell us for sure. Um, at this point, Eddie sees what actually happened. While they're getting Eddie to the trying to get him out, the captain jumps out. It says he's going to try to open this gate to get them out, and apparently, I think it's he steps on a mine. Yeah, it's a landmine, and it kills the captain. So, you know, trying to get his men out and save them, the captain put himself in harm's way and he died because of it. And Eddie had never realized that. He didn't know what had happened. He's just now learning this information, realizing that the captain did this to save him, saved him twice, to be honest with you. So, really a powerful amount of detail here. We see that the captain was in a bad situation where he had to shoot one of his own men, but in order to save them, and he's trying to point out to Eddie, look, man, I was doing what I did. Sometimes we have to sacrifice things, and that's going to be tomorrow's reading. They're going to talk about sacrifice. The concept of sacrifice is what the second lesson you're supposed to learn revolves around. So, really powerful section of reading today. I hope you guys have enjoyed it. The captain's a really neat character. Of the five, he's very neat. I love the first two a lot. The lady that he's going to meet is kind of interesting. The fourth is one of the ones I expected, to be honest with you. And then the fifth person's a real good twist. But the second one seems to be the one that I think, if I had to guess, I would say Mitch Albom spent the most time developing this one because it's kind of got the most well-developed story, to be honest with you. Maybe arguable compared to the one we're going to meet next. But really kind of a neat passage. So tomorrow, though, we're going to get the actual depth, the message. Okay, today was kind of setting that up. All right. So again, hope you guys are enjoying this. Hope you're getting something out of these videos. And I will stop this, and I'm going to go right ahead and do the third video so we can get through learning about this. All right. So thank you for your time. I appreciate you guys.